Hi, friend.
Hello.
We, I love you so much. We haven't even started. It's just like, this is great. Okay, let me introduce you real quick. This is Jason Reed. He is, I don't even know what your current title is, but this is where I'm going to start here and then I'm going to let you say things.
Okay.
Our paths crossed when you were the head volleyball coach at the University of Indianapolis, UIndy, right?
Yes,
But
correct.
we have common things like our paths, we've known each other longer than that, but our paths crossed then. We both adore. We can talk about the GOAT, Colleen Munson.
That's
You
right.
were on her staff. I was on her staff. Totally different times, completely unrelated to our relationship now. But you reached out to me. I don't know. What do you think? Like 2016, 2017, 2018, somewhere around there to work with your team?
Man, yeah, the history is getting foggier the older we get. So maybe there's a an age thing there, but it's almost like Crash. Like we've had these connective pieces, although like an entirely separate story, but also together at the same time. Um, I think the common thread would be volleyball to start, volleyball
Sure.
coaching. Um, Connective through Colleen. I
That's not
think
why you
the
called me, is it? When you first called me? Like, how did you first? I want to know how
I
I was blessed with your friendship.
so I think that I think there's some Camp Elevate in here as well.
Yes.
To
Yes, sir.
where I think that I was having a year or two that was troubling from a volleyball standpoint. Life was a mess. And I don't know if it was talking with you or if it was talking with Colleen, but in some way, shape, or form, Camp Elevate happened. And I think that if we hadn't connected prior to that, that was really call that a launch of kind of a reconnection
Yeah.
or a really kind of a truer, more connective friendship at that point. But I could be making some of this up too. It gets a little bit foggy as we scale back. But I think the important piece is like we were connected through volleyball and then through the course of both working in that college space and also going through some life things separately and together at different times and kind of having that friendship to bounce this is what I got going on off of the other party has kind of been what it's
Yep.
evolving or evolved into, I would suppose.
It's so interesting because that's the thing that I mean sticks out to me most that it's hard to explain or put it into words. I remember the first time that for me, I remember the first time we talked and I didn't remember the Camp Elevate thing. So I think it had to have happened before that because I remember weirdly I was in Tia Brandel's office.
Yeah.
Remember
Okay.
that? And I don't know why. I was at Ferris to do something else. I wasn't working there, but I was there doing something. And we had a
Yeah.
conversation about me coming to possibly do like some growing leaders habitude stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And the thing that sticks out to me, and I want to bring this up because I think that there are a lot of coaches who feel this way now, and not this is not why everybody calls, but a lot of times this is not an uncommon thing. I remember you saying, and I want you to expand on this. I
Okay.
remember you saying something to the effect of, Tree, I just sort of feel a little bit betrayed by my players.
Yeah. So uh, now that I've been able to look back on the entire thing, I was the one that was betraying the players. It wasn't them.
Say more.
Um, uh, you know, when I got to the University of Indianapolis, it was my first head coaching job, so that would have been 2013. Jody Rogers had taken the team to the Final Four the year prior. They were awesome. I mean, we won the first couple years because of the players that she had brought in. From a talent standpoint, were great. They were competitive. They were talented. I wouldn't say that we got along. I wouldn't say that the team got along, and that's not right or wrong. And I don't mean anything negative when I say that about that group because they were great. But the challenge was that Jody and I are oil and giraffes. Like water is too close, and so I I lost sight of who I was, and I tried to be Jody sometimes, and I tried to be another idea of what Jason might be as a head coach, and I kind of just kept trying on different hats, and so um, I think very naturally the team was kind of like they didn't know what to expect, and so as kind of a response to the inconsistency that they were getting from me, we splintered and things got progressively worse and worse and worse, and then as I'm trying to keep this soup sandwich together, um, I think I finally reached a point, and again, in my lens, it was like, well, they're turning on me. I've got this thing figured out, and I'm doing everything right, and how dare they? But really, there were quite a few things that I needed to work on to try and get better and provide some more consistency, whether they liked it or not. I can't be Jody long term, right? I can only be Jason long term. But even really at that point, I didn't know exactly what I was going to be about all the time, or something that I could maintain. So yeah, that
Yeah.
there were some challenges there that I needed to address inside before I really kind of started to think about being a better leader for them.
We haven't talked about this since, and so to hear you sort of break it down that way, I didn't see that coming, and I don't know that I look back on it and even have processed it that way, of course. But I so appreciated kind of walking through some of that alongside of you and seeing kind of your evolution just as a coach. Like I think the thing that I love most about it's hard to say most, but a lot about our friendship is we will go, I mean, months without connecting and then call and it'll be like, but if I have like something going on, you're one of my first calls. Like we have,
Yeah,
I hope this is okay to
fun.
say, we have literally called each other crying.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
I remember because and you kind of already alluded to it and I want to go there and kind of get a little personal but just walking through some of that I went down a few different times to work with your team and then of course you and I worked together and just to see that evolution I wouldn't have even processed it like that. So that's really interesting and I think the thing that put and this is where I want you to comment on. I think the thing that I appreciate most about our back and forth is that and I think this is true of all the coaches that I work best with. Um, I feel like we were both allowing each other to be influenced by the other because
Hmm.
you can't have a connective relationship, and this is coach to player as well, and player to coach. If you can't influence the other person, if you know they're just not going to be influenced, it's like banging your head up against a wall, right?
Hmm. Wasting some energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so way back. So yeah, you've worked with a number of my teams. Um, but before you even get there needs to be a trust component between the two of us.
Yep.
And so bring up some old school Brene Brown, like the trust, the square, right? You'd be on my square, you're on my square, and I don't have a piece of paper anymore, but um, I know that over the course of our relationship and as we've kind of talked and it's evolved, like you're somebody that I know that I can call and dump, good things and bad things. And I know that if I am ever seeking your advice, or whether it's about a team or whether it's about myself, I know that you're going to tell me the truth, whether I want to hear it or not. But there aren't teeth on it. It's
Sometimes I
not.
fail at that, but I appreciate you.
But so maybe that's something that man, I welcome the feedback, and even if it hurts a little bit, I think deep down we all kind of know. We know, you
Yep.
should know. I think that it, when you're not quite hitting your own standard or you're kind of falling short, and it's not always on purpose, and it's not always necessarily bad. Sometimes you just got to learn the lessons, and when you don't learn them, you got to go through different experiences multiple times until you kind of figure out that lesson. And so I think that you talked about us not connecting for a few months and having that peace, but that's to me, that's what it is that
Yep.
I know that you're going to shoot me straight. You want the best for me. You want the best for my groups. And there's not an ulterior motive. I forget that lovely German word, the Scheisenfreude or whatever it is, where it's like you genuinely, you enjoy when people are thriving and when they're having success and that transparency. And so that to me is dying a little bit in our country, and that's something I hope that we can kind of wrangle and try to get lean back into some. Um, because at the end, like we're all gonna rise if we just kind of keep trying to plug each other and lift each other up. More good things happen than bad things, I think there.
Totally. And I think, I mean, as a leader, and obviously most of my audience is a lot of the audience that I reach are coaches, right? But I think leadership is leadership and people are people. I just firmly believe that. And you and I have talked about this ad nauseum, right?
Mhm.
But I think, it can be a really lonely place, and your family, the people that are around you that are in your everyday life, I think it's really easy for them. They're always going to take your side. And I honestly, I think that I take your side more than I don't when you're a coach. Like I just do
Yeah.
because I genuinely love coaches. I love people who are willing to get in the arena and get their asses kicked.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there's just something to be able to have a thinking partner. And I'm stealing that term. I don't know if Brett Ledbetter was the first one to say it, but that's where I first heard it. And I think that is, I think, the greatest honor of my life is to get to be a thinking partner to thinkers like you, because you are a really deep thinker, but the thing that you're really kind. For
Well, thank you.
me, yeah. I mean, for me, you're like the definition of modern masculinity in all of the best ways. Like
That's
you're one of
cool.
the men in my life that I just cannot get enough of. I really just genuine, and I'll get emotional. Like you have helped me through
Thank you,
so
Tree.
much. Like you have no idea. Like I think you do actually, but yeah, we've been through it, man.
We have, and I'm glad that we have that to do that. And we're states away. Well, state away, but we're not like we're neighbors.
Yep.
We get to share this, you know, really pretty cool relationship. And like the number of times that you pop into I'm talking to somebody else about something, which by the way, I've got a job idea for you.
Ooh, let's go.
Um,
You're also my unofficial CFO. People should know that. He has a Tree Roots email, people. We just haven't acted on it yet.
we're well, but that's the thing. Like we're with being in the same boat with the thought. We also you brought this up. We were talking about relationships a while back, and we were talking about candidly, we were talking about my wife Sarah and
Yep.
how we kind of unofficially, officially have agreed to like grow together. You know, when you think about a relationship that we kind of, it's not that we assume that there's going to be perfection on the other side. It's that we're both on the same page when it comes to trying to improve, and the speed at which we're trying to do those things are close enough to where we really can get along. And I would argue kind of the same thing with you and I in our
Yeah.
relationship, that it's like we see eye to eye on a lot of things, not everything, because we have different experiences and
Right.
ideas and thoughts and all those things. But in the end, if I were to come to the table or a conversation and say like, "Hey, Trey, I think you're dropping the ball here," I know full well that you would not push back right away. Or maybe you would, I don't know, but you'd hear me, and vice
Absolutely.
versa. And there's this mutual respect of like, oh, this sucks, but I'm listening. Tell me why? What's the behavior? What am I doing that I can work on, or what's some action there? And I think that is crazy valuable to this whole bit.
God,
Going
that's
off on a
so true.
tangent.
No, no, that's so true. That grow together thing, I got that language from Simon. And so when we talked, I don't know, this is probably a month ago, you were talking about Sarah, and I'm like, oh man, I got to tell you about this thing. And I've been sharing that
Yeah.
with teams because I think like at the end of the day, every relationship in our life is more richer. Like it's more rich would be the way to say that. I speak for a living, Jason.
Words are hard.
They are. But I think, and you're right. Like and so can we go there? I don't know if this is okay, but like, so you kind of alluded to it, but when you went through your divorce,
Hmm?
shortly followed you. And so you were kind of
Sorry.
you were like one of my guidance. Like, I remember kind of talking about it, and it was quite a process. And even leading up to yours, we talked about yours a lot, and it was just like, to have someone who is just ahead of you on the path. And that's what, like, I think that is such a human gift to be able to give is when you're going through something, understand that that struggle is allowing you to then be somebody else's guidepost. And you were, for me, big time. And then, of course, that 2020 was bad for everybody, but like my brother died, I broke my leg, like all the things happened, and you were there right along the way. And I cannot tell you how much I learned just from lifing with you, just from friending with you. And it was just so amazing. And it stemmed out of our such a professional respect,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know.
So, yeah, talk about a challenging time, really for the both of us. And what I'm finding, and maybe you are too, is that that hard never really stops,
Mm.
right? It just kind of changes shapes, and um, you can have some shame that comes from the picture perfect life that you thought you had painted for yourself that doesn't go, and now all of a sudden it's you're embarrassed by it, and you forget that there are so many people going through not the same things because nothing is really the same, but the feelings can be the same, and how you're kind of processing them can be the same. And I remember so many phone calls that we had that were so valuable, um, and both sides, right? That I went through different pieces that you had just previously gone through, and so like it wasn't just this one side of like, oh, well, you got to do this, because even if that were to happen, it wouldn't work. The way
Oh,
that I'm going to process will be different, and vice versa. And so I think what was really valuable was kind of like, well, this is how I navigated it. At
yep.
least there was some sort of framework that is like, oh, okay, I can kind of take that idea and spin it into how I think I want to approach this situation. Or and then all of the conversations helped in just talking about it, right? Putting it out on the table, and somebody else going, oh, me too, man.
Right.
That happened to me, and it sucked, and it hurt,
Yeah.
and so even the conversations, whether weren't necessarily in action or this is how I'm going to handle it, there were still some shared like, oh, okay, well, I'm not the only person that's going through this, and all of a sudden, some of the shame or some of the really negative connotation that you have with a given situation starts to crumble and lose its footing, and then you start to recognize that like, oh, this is not an identity. It's just something that happened, and I get to paint the picture
Yeah.
of what I want it to look like.
God, it's so important because as you kind of said, like I think that's becoming harder, right? We're a lonely society right now, and it's hard to trust, and it's hard to really let those things bear and know who you can do that with. And I think that it's such a gift. I feel so lucky. Um, I I want to ask you this because I remember I allude to this, like I say this sometimes, and I don't ever say who, but I'm gonna kind of, let it out right now. Sometimes when I start working with teams or with coaches, there's that feeling. There's like a distrust for whatever reason, whether it's from the players, whatever. And this happened with other programs, but it also, you were one of them. About 6 to 8 months after we first started interacting and I kind of worked with your team, I remember you saying, hey, they're showing more gratitude now. Does
Mm-hmm.
this ring a bell for you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about, first of all, I want to just like, because I don't know if people believe me when I say this, it's not something that we ever talked about, but it was the natural repercussion of that reestablishment and sort of like really getting granular about trust and what that looked like in a team setting. And then as that trust kind of grew, I think that that gratitude and that entitlement goes down and the gratitude goes up. Can you kind of think back to any of that and like this just as you kind of progress through your career? Because you really, it was so fun to watch you because you're so freaking hungry to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And you're always like, it wasn't like I walked in and I was like, Jason doesn't know what the hell he's doing. It wasn't like that at all. You were good already. It was just you
Yeah.
have blind spots, right? And so can you just talk about that at all? Like if you recognize some of that and just in a way that can help other coaches?
So I believe the reason why the leaves and the fruit and all that started to bear was because you focused on the piece that was going to be important, and not just focused it, but like you shine a light on it, you talked about it every day, and you get the group as best possible to continue to talk about it. And when things go sideways, because they will, you don't react with it from a negative or a, this charged position. It's more so just you go there. And what I noticed with that team, when I had brought you in, was that those things weren't being discussed. There wasn't a light shining on it. And so, just like with kids, I got four boys at home. If I want a pattern or a behavior to repeat, I want to love on the ones that I want to see more of. I want to praise it. I want to celebrate it. And with that team, because I had broken so much trust in the past and they were trying to find little ways, like that was what it was, right? We found little things that they could control, that I could control. One of them was just bringing good, trusting situations to light. Marble jar. It sounds so silly, but you celebrate those things, and then from there, I saw the same things happen within the program where it was like, oh, it's working. Like this is working, and I there's still so much of me that's pulling and like, oh, we got to win, and I want to make sure that her arms look this way when she's passing, and those things can still happen. We're in college volleyball or we're in college sports. You should try to win. But if you focus so much on that, all those, in my opinion, now more important pieces, the trust, caring about these people in your program as people and helping them grow up and trying to see them thrive, right? It's a trickle down from what you're trying to do, being honest with them, but if you just keep shining a light on those pieces of the program that you want to cultivate and to grow, well, don't be surprised if they grow, right? The Mike Lingenfelter at Muncie always says, like, if you plant tomato seeds, you should be surprised if bananas grow, right? Like, if you're gonna water this
I love
trust
this.
idea, well, then the trust should grow as long as everyone is all in and
Yeah.
working on that trust piece. And so with that, again, I'm starting to ramble here. You got to model that. You got to talk about it, and then you got to live it, right? And that's a really challenging piece, and probably an area where I stumbled moving forward is that it's easy to get it kind of up off the ground, but then you just got to keep doing it, which means that you have to grow too, and you can't just ask your players that, hey, I need you to do this. Like you've got to do it too, and that's really hard.
Yeah. The modeling, I think that's always been a higher level of leadership, right? I think with this generation, this modern athlete, it has never been more highlighted and more important because their bullshit meters are just really good, right? They're looking through a filter 100% of the time. And I think I don't know about you, but I suspect it's true, but for sure for me, my coaches were do what I say, not what I do. And we just dealt with that. Like as athlete, I just cool. Like I had a softball coach my freshman year. My freshman year, the person who recruited me took a
Mhm.
different job. So before my freshman season, I was a spring sport, right? I they just this is years ago, right? So they just put the AD in that position. The athletic director at
Naturally.
Saginaw Valley was my for a year. So basically, a fifth year senior was our coach, who is now the AD at Grand Valley. So she's not like, it's Carrie Becker. But
She's all right.
I mean, we hung out, we were friends,
Yeah.
but she was basically our coach. But Bob Becker, no relation to Carrie, but Bob Becker was our official head coach at the time, the interim. And I'm not kidding, he would smoke a cigarette between double headers outside the dugout.
Love
Like
it.
that's where we're coming from, right? Talk about the ultimate. So but modeling is really important. Can you say just talk about that a little bit more, like dive into that? Because I think we get that wrong as coaches. And I also think that's a primary part of my job is when you're not modeling what you think you are. I do think having somebody who is outside of the hallways of your staff to be able to say, hey, you're actually doing this, and I don't work for you. That is by design. I cannot work for the person that I'm working with. It won't work.
So the modeling piece is crucial, right? But I think, to kind of go back to the beginning of my time at UIndy, 13, 16, 17-ish, you're always modeling something.
It's a good point.
Um, just kind of like culture, like it's going to exist. Your brand or whatever it is that you want to call it, depending upon how you think about it, like it's there. It's going to be there. Um, I think way more important that your brand identity or whatever we're calling it is authentic rather than perfect or this idea, right? So if if I'm trying to be Jody Rogers, I can do it for a little while, but I cannot sustain it because I'm acting. And so with modeling, if I want my players to be vulnerable, then I better show vulnerability. And that doesn't mean that I tell them about my, divorce per se, but there are bits and pieces that I can explain and share. And as a human being, you can go, oh, you're having a tough time. That's the important piece that we're aiming towards authenticity, not this idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Yep,
If you
that's
want
right.
to, if you're trying to model trust, then you need to give it. And then when it comes back, like again, reward it and then do it again and then do it again. And so I think that that was the aha for me, was that your 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 face, your lens, or whatever it is that you are portraying to the people around you. I think authenticity, that's where we're aiming. Be
Yep.
that. And then if you are allowing yourself to be authentic, this is the real Jason that's not perfect, but I'm trying real hard and I want to make sure I do my best by the team, best by my family, best by myself. I gotta be true to all those things and be able to say, well, I goofed that up, but I'm gonna try again. And I think that if you can get into a habit of doing that, of seeking, hey, I need some information back. I need this. Our feedback loop stinks, right? I don't feel like you guys are telling me what I'm asking, and maybe I'm not listening, or there's so many different things. But I think that if you can stay in the space where you're just trying to do your absolute best as who you are, the face of it is going to take care of itself.
Yeah, that's good. Tell me, so your journey to become authentically you, were you not authentic in those first few years because you thought this is what it's supposed to look like? Or did you not know what you wanted to be as a head coach yet? Like, and how do you get to that? Because people say it all the time, and I certainly could not agree more. I think trust is the one through line to team culture, but I also think one of the most important elements of that team culture is that it's authentically you all. It's authentic to the program and to the leader and to, the community. And so we could say that, but what would you tell coaches eh, about your journey to gain that authenticity?
I wish that this was an easy answer, but here's my take on this huge question. I think that it's a combination of all the things that you just said. I took over at UND and I was 30, 29, 30, somewhere in there. I hope that the 29-year-old version of Jason is not the end version of Jason. And fast forward 15 some odd years, like I'm still hopefully evolving and learning myself and having a slightly different shade of what it is that I'm going to be about, as I should, because the world's changing, my boys are growing up, my relationships are changing, romantic, platonic, all those things are changing. Like I'm going to continue to evolve. And so, first answer, when I first get there, yeah, I didn't know who I was. I was in my 30s. I was in my 20s and 30s. And if you think you know exactly who you are when you're in your mid 20s and you've just taken over a program, awesome. You're probably going to change some,
I hope
it's
you change some.
but I think it's unrealistic to
Yeah.
think that, like, man, by mid 20s I got this thing figured out. I would respectfully say I no, you, no, you don't. No, you don't. And that's okay. You're not supposed
Yep.
to have it figured out by then. That's the race is way longer than that. And so I think that there are some tenets or some values that you kind of structure your life around that are probably going to stay a little more consistent than your day to day, personality that's going to change and tweak here and there. And so the authenticity piece for me is that I know that I've landed on some ideals that I really haven't budged on in the last 20, 30 years, right? Integrity is very important to me. I
Okay.
want to try and get things right. I'm not going to get them right all the time, but I want to try really hard. And when I do, I want to try and make it right. when I mess up, rather, I want to try and make it right. Um, Family is really important to me. And I use a really big umbrella of family. So like there's a coaching tree family for me, there's a team family for me, there's a work family for me, and of course the more important family is my biological family is really important. But so I've had when I've talked to people about this, it's kind of like, oh, that's community. Oh, whatever. What that title can be a little bit synonymous, but I want to take care of the people to the best of my ability within my circles. And so even though I might change a little bit or have slightly different views on things as I get older, or I have different experiences, those have been my rudders. That's kind of kept me on track. And as I've gone through in the last decade plus of trying to make big decisions, try to figure out what's right, I try to run those decisions through those big filters for me. And that's usually landed me in a pretty good spot for what I believe in.
Okay, so I want to do this. This is so fun. Integrity and family are the two values you just spoke to, right?
Two big ones, yeah.
Yeah, and you define them, you operationalize them, right? So Brene says it like we take bullshit to behavior, right? Love it. It's said just like she can say it, right?
Yeah.
Her and Adam Grant they just had a conversation that I've now listened to
Oh, I need
1.5
to listen to
times.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And Adam Grant says to her, what if how they define values? And I haven't traditionally done a lot of values work in my work with teams because whenever I come in as an outsider and I try to do that in a very short time, and I mean, I only have a short time, right? And so really my influence and work with the head coach is probably it's the most important. And by the way, it's something you said earlier. I really won't very intentionally. One of the earliest guardrails that I like chose is I can't work with a team if I'm not working with the coach. I can work with the coach and not work with the
Yeah.
team, but not in reverse because they'll get cynical, right? You can't if they're growing and you're not, it will go badly very quickly.
It can't last. It's unsustainable.
It's unsustainable,
The
and
team is your mirror.
100%. Like, and they will call you up. They'll actually call you out. There's no calling up in this way. It would not go good. But what Adam Grant said, and I love this so much, he said he's defining values as the thing that you would sacrifice other things for. Like, what would you sacrifice? Like, you would sacrifice career advancement or whatever for those two values. You would sacrifice other
Health.
things. Yeah, right?
Mhm.
So isn't that so he goes through this whole exercise. I'll send it to you. It's amazing. But think about that definition against your definition of integrity and family and
Mhm.
just talk about that a little bit.
So I've thought about this, and I've had this conversation with Sarah of what happens when those two ideals butt heads. What happens when your integrity is challenged by your family, or vice versa, or whatever your ideals may be. And there's going to be an order of operations. And I think that we like to think that, oh, I would do this. We don't know. You don't know until you're in it, and then you're forced to make a decision. I would like to think that, well, not like to think. I think right now, on the spot, I'm going to go with my family over the integrity. And I don't know if that's right or if it's wrong, but that's what my gut tells me to do. And
All right, your kid robs a bank.
yeah, so I think that I can try and humanize this situation with my son
Uh-huh.
and treat him like my son while also holding him accountable to the rules that we have agreed upon within our country. Um, I think that I would try to encourage him to do the right thing by speaking to him like he's my son, because he is my son,
Yeah.
and help him deal with the ramifications of what comes with robbing a bank. And maybe that's the teacher coach. And again, this is what I think we'd like. We're like thinking about this in a vacuum. Oh, it's easy. This is what we do. How
Right.
on earth could we actually think about what should we do in this situation? I hope I never am in that situation.
Other
But
things have gone wrong if you are
yeah, well,
along
and
the
life
way.
happens, right? Life's messy, and
Yeah.
heaven forbid that's a situation that I gotta navigate. But um, if it does, then I'm gonna try and approach it with those two things in mind.
But let's go back to like, coaching in your team, right? So like the reason, and I didn't finish this thought, but The reason I haven't done values is because I really focus on purpose, mission, vision, right? And I don't go into values because the way that I've said it is your values will be revealed to you as you get clear on your purpose, mission, and vision, because it's where you're actually like how I've defined it before 3 days ago. I'll update it now. That's why I love learning so much. Is it's where you put your time, energy, effort, money. Like I can look at your calendar, your phone, your screen time, and I can tell you what you really value. So when I do this with teams, without really having I just haven't successfully been able to get them out of aspirational values. So what you're
Yeah.
talking about is like, no, no, no. I think that I would do this because this is what I value. I don't really know that. Like you're open to that idea. And I think when teams go through this process so often, and this is, I just want to keep pulling on this with you because it's a
Yeah.
good thought exercise. I think that they end up saying hard work, but like how many of them work hard outside of practice, or are they just doing exactly what you're telling them to do as the coach, or are they actually working hard? Because hard work, doing what you're told to do and actual hard work are two totally different things, especially at the college level, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? I don't really have a
So I,
question. I just want to think. Yeah.
yeah, so the approach I think is genius, right? With what you're talking about, like I don't mean in any negative way, like you're bypassing the idea of giving some of those values legs because you can see what somebody values by their actions and their behaviors. So I think that what it is that you're doing with teams and coaches to try and help them be a little more reflective and understand and try to land on um, focusing on things they can control that they're a little more subjective in terms of
Hmm.
what the words are. You do get to see those things, and so I think that what I've found is that it for me it gives me good structure. It gives me it. These are my guardrails. It's my container that really helps. That if I kind of start to get lost, I can lean on these ideas because they've been really they've helped me move forward. They've helped me with decisions. And so when it comes to a team, yeah, you don't necessarily have to maybe label them because you those things are going to be there. I think there can be some value within a team
I think it's really powerful if we can. Like, I want
if you
to.
can, yeah.
I just
Well,
am allergic to bullshit. And you get bullshit, right? You've seen me be allergic to bullshit in the room with you. And I will get impatient and make mistakes when I'm super frustrated if it's bullshit. I don't like it.
that's why I've got two. I can't remember more than that. Like there's too many.
Yeah.
And I think that within a team or a group, I think that it's great if you have multiple, but man, you've got to have some sort of common language. You got to have a couple of things that you're all about. And then
Yeah.
I think you lean into those things and in that situation, it's great to be able to explain actually, this is what that looks like. This is what
Yeah.
it, and I think that good coaches are doing that. Good leaders
Yeah.
are doing that. Hey, this is what this looks like.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
simple. You can repeat it. Wooden talk
So,
showed his guys how to tie his shoes on day one, so the story goes.
yep.
That's so silly, but man, okay, so right out of the gate, I'm thinking, okay, details are important in this program. If he's teaching me how to tie my shoes, this is a really details are important. So I better be mindful of details, and whatever the next lesson is.
That's such a that's a good takeaway. I don't know that I made that direct line from John Wooden to details, but you're right. Like he's living that value. So, okay, so my top, but I have two as well, and that's the recommended from Brene. And I love how she talks about it shouldn't be different with your work life versus your personal life. They're the
Mhm.
same. And for me, honestly, and I don't know, I don't like as I work through it, these haven't changed much in the last few years. And it totally connects to why I'm doing what I'm doing, but it's growth and autonomy. Like right?
Of course it is.
Right? Can you, right?
Yeah, awesome.
I
Yeah.
will sacrifice a lot of things for those two things. If I don't feel like I'm growing every day, I will sacrifice a social life. And this has been me since forever. I will
Yeah.
sacrifice a lot of things to be autonomous. And you know that because we've talked about a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, 100%. We got guardrails. I'm not allowed to text you at certain times because you were working or you're doing, and that is okay. I dig that. I think that's okay, cool. That's where the walls are for me. Got
And you're my
it.
friend. Imagine if you don't
No,
know, like
I would
other,
take
and
offense to it.
and it's like, it's a thing, right? But so if I pull on those, but here's where I struggle with that. Do I do we unintentionally no, I'm answering it inside my own head. Do we unintentionally limit ourselves through some of that? Right?
100%.
Yeah. But maybe we
I think
limit it,
so.
like it's our choice, right? It's what we value.
Well, so I think that's the beauty of a lot of relationships is, and I think that we're attracted to people that have a value or a skill set or something that we are not very good at.
Ooh,
And
say
so I
more.
think so like we're drawn to those things that we suck at. And there's a we envy them a little bit and we try to, I know for me, like I'm trying to glean some of that. And
Hold
and
on.
so okay,
Family is
I
your value. Family is one of your values, and autonomy is one of mine. And you just said we're attracted to people who that's, did you just catch that pattern?
yeah. Yeah, I
Keep
didn't, but
going.
yeah, thank you for pointing out. So like I'm gonna bring up Sarah again because she's a superhero. She has
She is.
clinically,
She's a rock star, man.
I I don't know if I'm a lot like she's got ADHD. She's crazy. She's Looney Tunes crazy.
In the
She
most
is
beautiful, creative, amazing way. Yeah.
I love her to death.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
teeth behind that saying, and she'll
Oh, I
tell you the
know.
exact same thing. Um, she's brilliant,
Yep.
and she is motivated, and she is really sharp and really smart. And when chaos happens, there's not anybody else that I would rather have by my side. And when we need a plan, I'm the guy. And so it drives me nuts and I want it all at the same time because I don't have that. When things go sideways for me, I'm a mess. I am I don't think well. I revert back to my mean of I lose the trust and I all those things that I don't want to be like. I just go right back to those things and she doesn't. She rises to the occasion. And so between the two of us,
But in
we
your,
make
let me
money
jump in. In your day to day, you are rock steady.
100%.
You are
And
so rock steady.
and so you think about this as a team. Like I'm that O2. I'm gonna show up every single day and I'm gonna get 2.5 kills. I'm gonna hit 200. I'm
And
gonna
you're
dig
going to
two and a
pass
half balls.
nails.
I'm gonna pass a 2-3 and every day I'm gonna just show up and I'm gonna give you that. And it's gonna be very vanilla ice cream cone. And that's nice, but it allows for a rock star to come in and get 5 kills on one night
Yep.
and
That's
one
it.
kill on the next night. And we need both because we're not winning without 5 kills a set. We need her or him. And so within our little team, I'm attracted to the fact that she's really good in chaos, but it drives me the chaos that is around her inevitably kind of drives me nuts from day to day. And probably the boring, predictability that comes with me drives her nuts. I know it does. And so but she needs it. She needs some structure that allows her to dance within the space that she needs. And so I think that within the values to bring it back, um, I think that we seek out relationships here and there because we're missing some of those things. We need some of those things, and I think that's the beauty of team sports. We get to get everyone's best stuff, put it on the table, kind of sort through it, and go, okay, we take all this awesome stuff, and there's some wins out there that we can get, or growth that we can get because we
Yep.
have all this cool stuff. Let's look at all this cool stuff and see if we can't use some of it.
You said earlier we're losing some of this, and I think you're right. I think that we're there's so many bubbles, and we get stuck in our confirmation bias loops and things like that. And I think what you're saying is so true, and it's important. Diversity of perspective, I think, is something that it's not one of my core values, but it's up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I want dissent. I want conflict in a way that is productive,
Yes, same, love it
right? That's
and
why
hate it.
we're great. We're fun. Yes. I I love, you know what? We've done a couple of, like, you've come up and done a couple of site camps and
Mhm.
whatever. A couple, right? Or just one?
Uh, Claire, but we've been in the gym. We've been in
Yeah.
presentations. We have done different
And
things together. Yeah, yeah,
I think the thing that I love, the like the moments that I think back that I'm like, oh, I love this so much. You're not somebody who loves conflict. Would you agree?
yeah.
Like in a
It's a
daily,
double-edged sword for me. I love
you're
growth. I love improving. I don't love the conflict part of it. I've got I got to flex up some being brave
Yeah.
to get there. And then when I'm in it, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought.
But you're so good that you have given me the best like like I think sometime maybe at the Claire camp it was after the fact and you were like I was really mad at you and I was
I
like
was, you hurt my
that's
feelings.
freaking awesome. I was like say more, let's go. And you just like jumped in and I love that. I loved that so much. And it's like because and this is what I'm trying to explain to teams all the time in that moment, I felt so loved by you because I know that's not comfortable for you, and you cared enough about me to tell me that.
Yes, and I needed to be told what I was told because I was doing some.
Fair. I don't
I
even
was
really
giving
remember what
somebody
it was.
I was giving somebody an answer, and you were wanting to let them struggle to find the answer. And I hadn't learned that, and so I was trying in my mind I was being helpful, and I was not. And so in a just like within a team, sometimes you're in a timeout, we got 90 seconds and we got to get the information out. You very quickly got the information out. I was offended. And over time, as I've looked back on that situation, that was an opportunity for me to grow. And again, I didn't like the conflict. I didn't enjoy that interaction that we had, and then the second one, but I've grown from it and I'm better from it. And now we've grown together stronger because
Yep.
there's just one more layer of the bridge of trust that we're working on because we had that interaction and the sun came up and everything is okay and we
Yep.
still talk and things are still kosher. We're allowed to have these
Right.
little disagreements.
Well, because Jason, I know that if I'm being an asshole, you're going to tell me.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yes.
I think that's what it comes down to for me is like if I'm being an asshole and I probably was a little bit too curt in that moment. I certainly didn't mean to, but like you said, I
No.
mean, whatever. And I know that you know that, but like, oh, I need to know that. I can come off pretty gruff sometimes. I've worked really hard to not. Like it's a lift sometimes. Like that's not my natural situation.
So what a beautiful thing that we can both kind of in this one particular situation. There's so
Yep.
many things that we can both take things away, and this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Going back to the taking of the other party's their way. You're working on presentation and coming across in a way where the message will be received, but it won't be so cutting. And that's something that I think I do really well
You
at, right? I
do.
can kind of go like, hey, before you know it, just like you just got tongue lashed and you didn't even know that you were in trouble. and
Yep.
and on my side, I need to lean into that confrontation and saying, this bothered me. And that's something that you do really well. And so in that one situation, there's both parts of it that we can kind of take on and improve it. Oh, that's how that's modeled. Okay. I can do that.
Totally, totally. And that's what I think if there's any gift that I could give to student athletes, and if there any are watching it right now, it's this. It's I say to say it, very directly, it's the doorway, to deeper relationship is through conflict. Just little, it doesn't have to be this big thing. That was a very quick situation. Like it was that conversation was like this long. It
Mm-hmm.
was very short. And
Yep.
and we're still to this is, I don't know, several years ago, probably.
Yeah,
But
as
we
well
both
back.
knew
Yeah.
exactly what I was talking about when you
Yeah.
were,
100%.
yeah,
Well, but without teams, that little seed of a conflict has the ability to ruin a season,
yeah, yeah. That's
doesn't it?
true.
Because if well, now all of a sudden I think, well, she's a bitch.
Hmm.
You know, she's just kind of nasty. And I have I could go that direction. And now all of a sudden I'm not passing balls, to you the right way, or I'm not going to set her. And that sounds so trivial and silly. And I know that there are going to be coaches that watch this and go, oh, that's happened on my team.
Hmm.
And so like, but to go back to the work, that's what it is, right? It's work is to be able to have that happen. And we decide that let's talk about this. I'm ticked off. I'm angry, and I want to talk about it. And now it's moved on, and it's
It's
drawn us closer together rather than uh, been a wedge.
yeah, I think that what you said, I want to kind of add on to it. I think it has the ability to ruin seasons when it doesn't get addressed. It's
Yes.
almost never going to ruin the season. And this is what just like as you were talking kind of popped in my brain. It's it can, but it's almost never going to ruin it if you say the thing. The more likely outcome to not saying the thing is a diminished season. And
Mhm.
that is what so many teams are experiencing right now.
I think I used to tell my teams, and I still share this advice with my family and others, that the second and the third conversations are probably even more important. So in
Mm.
in this example that we keep referring back to, we had the one interaction. Okay, we moved back into camp. We're adults. We can run camp, and everything's fine. But it was the second conversation, and now this is what, three, four, whatever it is, that we're still able to go back and like check in. And I think that those pieces are really important. And so it sounds dramatic when you say, "Oh, it can ruin a season," but it's not that conversation or even the next one. It's the second time something happens in that light,
Yes.
right? You say something short to somebody else, and I overhear it, and it just reaffirms that
Yes. That's it.
you're a bitch, but you're not. It's just that in the heat of it, we were on a water break, and we genuinely didn't have a ton of time to break this whole thing down because we're in the middle of camp. And so if you can get to an understanding on that second conversation, check back in or whatever, now when I see that behavior or you see that behavior for me, there's an understanding of like, hey, we talked about this. You
Yep.
stop giving them the answer. Let them figure it out. They're gonna get there. Oh, that's right. Shoot, you're right. That conversation looks entirely different if we don't have a follow up to
So
the
true.
initial interaction.
That's so true. That's so true. That's it right there. It's harder said. I mean, it's easier said than done, right? Um,
Of course.
so tell me, this is, let me be mindful of ourselves. Oh gosh, we're almost out of time. Holy cow. This went by like I feel like it's been 10 minutes. Um,
I looked down. It was like a few minutes after 11. I looked down again. Yeah, 11:54. We're going.
wow, that was I see we just need to do this more, man.
Agreed.
This is a fun sandbox. I'm gonna I have two more questions, and one
Okay.
is rapid fire, one is yeah, let's make them both rapid fire-ish. Don't
Good.
freak out about it. This is your first season not coaching in how many years? How many years total?
I did 20
20
in the
years.
college space. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, do you want to talk about what kind of led you out the door of coaching? Um, like from a global standpoint, whatever you want to
We,
share about it.
we may need a part two of this call
Yeah.
for me to go all the way down that rabbit hole. But I think in short, the school that I was at was going under some leadership changes at the highest level, at the athletic director level. Um, the school is evolving, and it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. I had some differences that I felt very strongly about with how we were handling some policy changes, um, and life was also challenging with um, probably some burnout. Um, I think the NCAA and the NIL and all these things that are changing. Um, the same thing, neither right nor wrong. My plate just got really full to the point where it was kind of like, I think I might need to do something a little bit different. There's way more to it than that. But kind of high level, it was really time for a change for me to go do something else.
Yeah.
I wasn't being It was getting harder and harder to just try and be myself and try and do a good job with the team.
Talk about a values-based decision. We're talking about values. You're valued. Like that,
Yeah,
you live by your values for sure. I'm going to add another question. If you ruled college sports, what is one thing you would change?
ruled college sports. Wow. Um, I think by and large, just in general, our kids are growing up way too fast. So let's see, I'll get to an answer here in a second. I watch what our kids know, and you've talked about how when we grew up and played, we had these authoritarian coaches. Um, but like I think that we are skipping so many of the important values that can be learned through sport. And I don't think that we shouldn't compensate or take care of these kids in some capacity that are playing collegiate athletics. but I think we're missing a lot of the really important things that come along with college athletics or athletics in general. I mean, same thing. I go watch this 10-year-old Little League and I listen to the parents and they're getting so excited about it. And then they should. It's their kids. And I don't mean to take anything away from their fulfillment of watching their kids play sports, but they're playing sports. I don't care if my kid starts or he doesn't. I want him to have fun and I want him to grow up and get some confidence from it and stay in shape and learn how to be part of a team and some of those things. And so, man, I don't know how to put that into an exact answer being in charge of all college sports. That's pretty exciting. I guess I
Maybe
would be
that's
on
part two.
mission.
We'll do a whole thought exercise just
I
on
think I
this.
would be on mission to try and see if we could get back to playing for some of those reasons
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some capacity. I think that just societally, we'd be better off in another couple of decades if we had an entire group of people that were trying to do right by each other, that were trying to work hard, that were trying to take care of each other, that were trying to be good teammates, that were trying to be loyal, that were trying to do all of those things that we can get out of sport. Um, and if there's a way to also compensate that's appropriate, and I don't even know what that looks like, is that's such a big, hairy question. But I guess that's the area that I'd
Yeah.
lean.
I like it. That's good. That's good. That's a whole nother sandbox session. I think if I had to say one thing, the biggest thing that I would change right now, and just because I see it on a daily basis at all levels, believe it or not, is how we interact with playing time and especially how parents have come to think about it. It's not a reward, it's not a punishment. And I think coaches are guilty of feeding it. It's the same coin, different sides. But that's a whole nother episode. I'm on that mission. Okay, last question for real. What's a leadership lesson that keeps presenting itself to you?
Uh, I'm going to go back to my authenticity quote, and I say this now having been out of collegiate athletics, and so most people that are asking about what's life like after coaching, you've lived it. Um, but right now, I feel like I'm going through that process again of just like who am I, and what am I going to be about, and I can't directly influence a team right now, and so. That's a leadership lesson. And so the leadership lesson I feel like is not only that piece of the identity that I'm trying to figure out, but also still, the coaching never stops. I've got to coach my kids. I've got to coach
Yeah.
the people that are around me, and we don't call it that. That's a weird way to say it, but um, that's what I'm going through right now is just trying to figure out like this exoskeleton that's coming off. What does that look like outside of college volleyball coaching? And I'm 9, 10 months into it now, and I'm just starting to get all the puzzle pieces turned over, and I'm still trying to put that puzzle back together.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Jay Reed, I love you so dearly, and I'm
Love
so
you too.
grateful.
This is fun.
So grateful for you.
We got to do this again, yeah.
I'm in. Sold. For sure. Like for real. Like I could see there's already like four different spin-offs I can think of for this sandbox session.
I like so this for me is a way that I get to say in coaching a little bit. Like I
Yeah.
this these things this fills my bucket to be able to talk through and hear ideas on what it is that you're working with and how you think about things. And so I can't thank you enough for bringing me on to talk about these things and it just like with therapy or going through divorces and all that, like talking about these things is really helpful too because this will spread into work, this will spread into the family, this will spread into
Yep.
other things from a positive standpoint too. So I really appreciate you letting me run my mouth a little bit and hear what you have to say, and the questions that you asked are on point. So thank you, Sheree. Love you.
Love you.